Hi, I'm doing a presentation this evening, and it's called Null is Avoidable. Basically what it is best practices for empty states. So yeah, and it's as part of that, it's planning for the unhappy path of a user's experience, because as designers, we always plan for the happy path, but sometimes the unhappy path is sometimes forgotten about. So I'll continue. So a bit about myself. I'm a UX designer at Rapid7. I'm, as you might know, over the past couple of days, I'm co-organizer of BelfastJS. I'm also a drawer of things. I was an artist for many years, still am. I'm also a DIY dabbler. So yeah, I dabble in things about the home, getting things fixed up. And I'm also a dog mum. And there she is in all of her glory. She's currently snoozing beside me, or else she would make an appearance. So first things first, what is an empty state? So empty states are moments in a user's experience when there's nothing to display. So it's kind of those in-between moments in a user's experience throughout a product where they might be missing something. So typical use cases of when users encounter empty states. Now, this is not inclusive. It can extend. So it's usually during onboarding or initial usage. So that includes, when a user's just signed up for a product, when they've just installed a product, or when a user hasn't configured anything or favorited or created anything on that product or page. So it's like if that's the intention of the product itself. It's also the case when there's no content to show. For example, if a user searches for something and there's no search results found, and it also could be the resulting screen of when users have completed a task, such as clearing an inbox, or something has cleared from their system, or they've completed a task that is necessary for them on the system. So as well, other types of empty states that can, well, they're empty, but not so much. It's more sort of things that can happen, but I equate them to this empty states idea. For the overall user experience are error states. So that would include system errors. So for example, timeout errors, Wi-Fi lost, error 404s, all that fun stuff. Human error too. So fat finger typing, command isn't supported, type the wrong thing, done the wrong action from a human perspective. And there's also loading states. So this is kind of an edge case because it's kind of the in-between of the in-between. It's the parts between of, is there going to be something or is there going to be an empty state? So some empty states are to be expected, such as during onboarding, configuration, that sort of initial setup. If they appear during sort of a workflow of a user completing a desired task, and that's even including, I think we've all felt it ourselves, including searching, filtering, or looking for something in particular, or trying to get something done on this product, it can cause interruptions and it can cause confusion, frustration if they're not implemented correctly. So this is a quote from an article I've linked at the end, but it's like totally empty states cause confusion about how and whether the system is working. Absolute facts. So the user is likely to ask, they're usually to go, probably going to go internal, did I do something wrong? Is this thing broken? Is content still doing something, or is this thing on? How long does it take for somebody to just hit refresh before and then never touch it again because of this kind of really janky experience? So what constitutes that experience from a design perspective is no content. So if you show nothing, they're going to expect nothing. Misleading information. So that's basically saying leading them down the wrong path where they should be going, and also a lack of context of why this situation's going on. So a couple of small examples of where there's missed opportunities here is we see this a lot now in quote unquote trendy design, where illustration's used a lot. And whilst this illustration is great, it also doesn't provide any direction for the user on what to do next or where to go, or provide any context whatsoever, apart from this is what they are right now. Secondly is as well, this is actually Spotify, surprisingly, but when you're too vague with your messaging, so for example, an error occurred, that also is quite a bad experience because there's no context of what error occurred and no way out of the situation. The last one, yes, potentially provides a wee bit more feedback, like, you know, you don't have any more notifications to review, which is good. I've completed something, but it doesn't give me a way out as a user. It doesn't lead me into any more direction of what could appear next or where to go. So what makes a good empty state? So I've kind of framed it up in 5 key things that I think, now this isn't, definite by any shape or form, but these are the kind of main things that I was thinking about. So discovery. So utilize empty states to help users discover unused features or increase the education and learnability of the application that they're in. Give them a direction of where to go next, how to get onboarded, etc. Also provide action in your empty states. Users have come or have happened upon an empty state for a reason. So use human language, meet them where they are, but also provide pathways for them to how to get data populated, how to get started with key tasks, again, increase this kind of education about where they are. So as well, with empty states, we know error states fall into this. So status, so communicate the system status to the user. If you provide nothing, they're going to think I'm broken, like as a user, or the system's broken. Give them a way, give them some sort of report on the status. There's also preparation. So you can utilize empty states to prepare the user for what to expect when the content appears. So for example, in inboxes, I've seen where it's like messages will appear here when X, etc. This is my favorite one, and I think it's completely underutilized in empty states because it is empty. It's like a blank wall. You can have a bit of fun with it. So you can turn an unhappy path into a more pleasant one through adding personality and fun. And it is the term that we use in design a lot called delight. So please tell me that I'm not showing my age, but this is the greatest empty state of all time, in my opinion, which is the Google offline mode, where you might have lost connection. And this has been existing for probably upwards of 15 plus years, where you could click through and play a game during this unhappy moment, and that in turn turns it into a pleasant one. So other examples of good empty states include, these are just some that I kind of came across, but this first one from Gusto, now it was from another article I read, which I've credited here. Personalization, meet their user where they are. Username, it's again with customer service, you want to have that sort of very personable interaction, makes you feel good. Also, even the language here, there's nothing left to do. You're like, okay, cool, I can relax now. I'm not worried. This is empty, but I'm not worried about it. Second one is Amazon. Can we talk about the dogs? Obviously, we're dog people here, but utilize your empty states for something completely different. It's almost similar to how Cadbury's use the whole music adverts. It's memorable. People will remember the dogs more than they remember Amazon. Well, I don't know if anybody can't remember Amazon, but for the right reasons. I think it's more, it makes it more human, more personable. And then the last one is GitHub. Now, I did actually, full disclosure, sign up for GitHub myself, lol, and just to get an onboarding state. And I was really impressed. And I think that it's there's clear feedback and instructions. There's clear sort of avenues of what I can do to create my first project, etc. And even the iconic GitHub unicorn, I was kind of questioning this at the start, where I was like, oh, is this an actual, is this a good empty state? Is it bad? Because it said contact support. But what it does as well is it links to support through this state too. So whilst being fun, it's also actionable. So in order, because I'm a designer, why not bring a persona into the mix? So I've created a small use case for a potential user who is using a mobile application. So take Emmy, for example. They've just moved into a new house. And I've signed up to a platform which allows them to curate images of homes and spaces that inspire them. They can also create shopping lists to achieve the aesthetic they desire, and they're excited for Christmas. Obs, who isn't? And can't wait to decorate their home. So they've downloaded this fictional mobile application called Decorator. So to start, Emmy's presented with a welcome screen. So there's two options here. The easiest option, but the worst one, is obviously to just put an empty state right off the bat. You know, no content found. Of course, there isn't. She hasn't started, or they haven't started anything. So again, it's plain text, no actionable feedback. Better experience would be to include personalization. You know, include Emmy's name. Say, we've got you. We know you're new. We're about to show you the ropes. Add context as well through language to allow Emmy to know what to set up, and also as part of this, highlight key CTAs or provide a walkthrough experience, educating Emmy on of how to navigate this new platform. You know, for example, like add boards, search here, etc. So the second part of it is when Emmy's set up, you know, they have a statement fireplace in their home and they want to celebrate it. So they're looking for specific decor that would suit their desired aesthetic. So they search in the inspiration tab for this. And, you know, because it's a very popular search and it has lots of results, it's going to take a long time to load. So the bad experience here, or the lesser experience, would be provide nothing. You know, how quick is it that Emmy's going to exit this application? Very, very quick, or restart it, or restart their phone, or think that there's an error here. So a better experience is, again, provide feedback for them. You know, say, looking for inspiration, this might take a minute. It's reassuring for Emmy that they know activities occurring. Lastly is content. So Emmy has compiled a list of fireplace decor that they want to go out and buy. So they're making sure that everything is on their list that they want. So they search for something and no, it doesn't bring up any results. This first experience, whilst accurate, doesn't give Emmy a way out. You know, it doesn't meet them where they are. It kind of just says, hey, sorry, peace, nothing found. Better experience would be to, again, add empathy into the mix. Why is Emmy searching for something in their list? They are trying to add something to make sure it's there. So provide a CTA to say, yep, we want to maybe add candles to this list. And it provides a positive outcome from a negative situation when there could be nothing there. So in conclusion, again, JS. In conclusion, for your next project, consider context. So when it comes to empties, understand why there's nothing there, why there's no content. Communication, have we communicated effectively what is happening and also how they need to get out of it, what they need to do. Also collaboration. So as touched upon a lot yesterday and today, we all have a part to play in the experience our users get. You know, it's not just one person journey. So as engineers, you're paramount in the design process of telling us what is feasible and therefore what could happen and when. You know, we don't know all of the answers and we don't like to lead by assumption. So you're usually the ones who tell us the need for these states a lot of the time. So you're paramount in that process of making sure that they're implemented correctly. So in summary, Empty states are sometimes overlooked during the design process, but are a key part in the user's overall experience in a product. They are the in-between moments between their happy path and an unhappy path. If implemented correctly, they can aid user education, brand awareness, add delight, build trust, and that's not nothing. So therefore, Null is avoidable. Any questions? Here's some resources too. I'll link this deck as well into the chat, but here's some resources of other things that I found as I was curating this. So questions? No. He's here if you can hear him.
Okay, yeah, cool, I'm back. Yeah, so first question, did the dinosaur from the Google Chrome empty state always have a hat?
No. I think that my screenshot version, it's really hard to find actually. My screenshot version, I think it was maybe a birthday mode, because you know the way Google does things. I think it was kind of maybe a birthday mode or something. It didn't always have a hat. Good question.
Yeah, no, that really confused me. Yeah, so a couple of questions we kind of sent through. So how difficult is it to retroactively design for empty states, especially if they are a bit complicated?
Mate. So I had a matrix once. I did a matrix on Miro of all the possible outcomes for empty states. And I think there is this kind of double whammy edge, right? When we're planning for empty states, where we know there's states where we can be a bit more specific of like, this is actually what a user needs to do to get this information. But there's also these edge cases and these states that like people, it's so hard to tell. So maybe blanket statements are a bit better. So for example, in that Amazon one, it was like, sorry, we couldn't find anything. They're not specific what the user was searching for. It's much more those blanket sort of things. I think it's about discussing it with your team, kind of pulling in all the expertise that you have, making sure that you've kind of covered most ground, but also understanding that you cannot cover everything. Like it's impossible. It's impossible to cover any edge case, every edge case all of the time. Hopefully that answered your question, Vic.
And another one that came in and actually kind of harks back to Emma's talk from yesterday about accessibility. Like, does accessibility play a role in empty states? And are some of the examples you've shown, are they accessible?
Well, I can't tell you if they're accessible because they're screenshots. I haven't tested them myself, but I will say make an empty state as accessible as you would the application. So therefore make the text readable, make the CTAs actionable, label them correctly, use the same formats, try with your using images to put all text to say illustration showing fun character or whatever. There's easy ways to make it accessible if the actual product's written accessibly itself.
And I think it was touched upon in the talk, and even in that last question, like, we are very focused. I say we, I'm not a designer, but designers are very focused on like designing like the greenfield state, like a filled out table, when, like, I guess when in the process, how important this process is to think about those things. It's only very rarely, like, on a brand new project or a brand new account, like when you create your GitHub, you see the emptiness of it. Is that like short period of time worth the investment?
The thing is, it's not a short period of time, babes. It is like literally be thinking, whilst you're thinking about what everything should be going right, what could go wrong? I'm planning for that early. It's again with the entire design process, entire development process, early and often. Constantly have that in the back of your mind of how, because you're constantly thinking, how can we prevent these kind of situations? think about it often. And also, I would also say to any designers or any engineers out there, ask for those cases when you are, because like, you know, I mentioned in the chat, content copy framing is like, these are all part of the entire user's experience. The user's experience is not just the happy path. It's not just, I want to do A to get to B. That's not it. It's like, I need to go through C, D, E, F, G, H, Y, Z. Like, you know, we need to plan for all of those different things. And with content and everything and designers, like we are the ones, well, everybody's the ones that can help make this a good experience for people. So plan it early. If you know that there's shit that's gonna go wrong, plan for it. Make sure it's framed right. Make sure there's like enough like sponging for the customer to land upon, and you're golden.
And actually, a perfect follow-up question to that, like from Louise in the chat, like, would you recommend like tracking / metrics to learn more about the states that the user gets?
That's an interesting one, because I definitely would, because I think that's kind of a good measure of who's going down happy path versus an unhappy path. And you know, sometimes empty states, yeah, for sure, are built off of assumptions. We assume that this might go wrong, but we don't know for sure if users have actually stumbled upon this. And I think that's really, really cool. And I think that, like, yeah, it's one of those things that it's like, if all goes well, everybody will go down the happy path. But measuring, it's the same as like when you measure drop-off rates, right? It's like, you want that sort of metric in your brain. So I definitely think it's valuable.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Louise. Thank you for closing out our 12 Talks of Christmas.